Hey everyone, welcome to the Aircraft Broker Academy podcast. Our guest today is Nick Retterer, and he flew all the way down from Nashville, Tennessee to share his success story. And I think his story is going to inspire a lot of you because in a very short period of time, he was able to get two clients and help him buy an SR-22, one each, and made over $16,000. And he also has three clients right now. So welcome.
Glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. So the first thing I want to know, Nick, is how did you get into aviation and how did you decide to become an aircraft broker?
Sure. So I was born into aviation, into an aviation family. My dad was a crew chief in the Marines, so he worked on transport helicopters, and I was born on the air station there.
Oh, wow.
So I was born into it, literally. You know, I went and after school went and played on the helicopters and went to his work, you know. So I was around aviation from the beginning and always knew I wanted to be a pilot, but never knew how it was going to happen. And, you know, my grandfather as well, he was a Marine and he flew in Vietnam. So he flew transport helicopters in Vietnam, and he also did some fixed wing stuff out of Memphis. So I have both of them to thank for the desire to get there. But you know, it didn't come to fruition until after high school and into college. So life worked itself out, had a funny way of doing that. And, you know, I went to, lived in North Carolina, moved to Knoxville, Tennessee, went to high school there, did a little bit of college there, and was like, okay, I'm going to do this, you know. I have to do this. This is my route to success. I feel
Is your family's legacy?
It's absolutely third generation. You know,
Yeah.
you made that comment.
Yes, with
third
R3
generation. You know, off of my last name is where the R3 comes. It's from the 3R. So I kind of tweaked that. But you gave me a second avenue of an idea there. But you know, I went to a community college in Knoxville, and then I said, okay, let's do it. I moved myself out and put myself through college at Middle Tennessee State University, where I did their professional pilot concentration. While I did that, I worked full-time, been working full-time since, you know, a young age, putting myself through this stuff. And, you know, went through the ranks there, enjoyed it, got, you know, all of my ratings, and I graduated, and I made the transition into being an instructor to follow everybody's path to the airlines.
Sure.
A very lucrative path, one that I think is still available to me to this day. And still it's just, you know, on me every day, you know, hey, are you going to do it? When are you going to do it? But, you know, I instructed a little bit, was given a position at I feel like a better flight school. It was, you know, Randy Harmon, Harmony Air, which is where I still reside today, working there.
Quick question with that. Is that a Part 141 or a 61?
So I left MTSU, which is 141, and I went to Harmony Air, which is a Part 61, a Part 61 flight school, a 135 charter company, and a aircraft management company.
Got it.
Okay. So I jumped over there, and I just started hustling, working through the ranks, flying as much as possible, you know, building my time. And they have a lot of stepping stones, and we'll, you know, of course, I'll bring some of that up later. They have a lot of stepping stones for people, you know, whether it's clientele you meet or what planes are available to fly, or hey, let's go hop in a Vision Jet. That was never a possibility outside of like at MTSU. And it was never a possibility, but there it was. So I was able to start creating connections with people and networking without really even knowing it. You know, I met a lot of good people there, and I moved into the Cirrus and was able to start flying that. It just still was being a pilot, mainly, you know, flight instructing. And then, you know, as the company grew, we had, I think, 7 instructors and maybe about 18 airplanes at that time, because John Toon, where we're located, was hit with a tornado 2 or 3 years prior.
I remember that.
Completely destroyed. We lost 18 airplanes. Wow. Harmony Air lost 18 airplanes. King Air, Cirrus's. I mean, we've got Luke Bryan, we've got Dirk Bentley, we've got all those big name people who were connected with us, country music stars. And that's really where Harmony, I think, at the end of the day, it got popular. You know, Randy really did an awesome job at meeting with those people and teaching them what now I'm teaching other people to do. So yeah, it was hit with a big tornado, man. And as I got in, I mean, I flew over it in commercial at MTSU, and I looked down, and all it was just nothing. I mean, planes throw around everywhere.
Jeez.
So as I joined, they were rebuilding. So I got to watch this company rebuild and be a part of it. And Randy offered me the chief flight instruction role, right about 800 hours, and I took it. And I just started to fill that role, and it came with a lot of leadership and a lot of a little bit of business running the business, managing people. And that was my first time doing that kind of thing. And he's getting up in age, and he said it's time for me to retire. And so he started looking for people to potentially buy the business, and we moved through a couple people and ended up landing with one of my students who I taught instrument with, and he ended up purchasing Harmony Air.
Interesting.
He called me and was like, "Man, you want to run it?" And I said, "Wow, okay. Let me think about it." Didn't have to think about it.
Probably saw something in you, man.
Yeah, and I was, I mean, me, like, that is such a beneficial position to be learning from somebody, and not just one person, but multiple people on how to run a business at 25, 26 years old, learning that. And so,
and how old are you now?
I'm 27. I'm 27. So I started that at 26. And so it was, for me, I went through a lot of growing pains and a lot of adjusting. I mean, we're a 26 aircraft flight school now. We still do all of those aspects I mentioned. And I've got 20 flight instructors. So I'm doing of this 3-pronged shuffle every day. And so that's kind of been my aviation path so far. There's so many stories and lessons in between, of course, but man, that's been the gist of it. And it's been a very lucrative path for me, even in the beginning, in the first few years. I mean, I have a passion for this. This has not worked for me.
Yeah.
So it's a blessing to be able to wake up and do that. And I thought about it last week. I woke up and I'm like, man, it's going to be a busy day today, but I'm not working.
Yeah.
At the end,
you're flying.
And I'm not even flying. I get to go to work and enjoy the people I work with and enjoy what I do. And it involves my passion. I mean, I've won in any stretch of the imagination. I've won in life. So,
wow.
Now, as I jumped into the leadership role, my mind is one that works in a million miles an hour. Like I get one thing and I got to go to the next. I get this and I got to go to the next, whatever it is. It could be a hobby. It could be finances. It could be a job. It's, so I thought about how do I create something of my own? And, that's where the Google searches started. And I had no clue what I was going to do.
Let me ask you, when you were doing that Google search, did you have something in mind, or you were just kind of like looking at what type of entrepreneurial ventures are out there that are kind of related to aviation?
I had brokerage in mind.
Okay.
I did have.
Why did you have brokerage in mind?
I think I have heard of it, but I heard of it before, kind of on the field, because we just have a lot of GA on the field. I've heard of broker this, broker that. How'd you get the plane? I had a broker who did it. And I'm like, okay, all right. That must be some really difficult thing to get into. You got to have all this information. You got to know all the right people. So I just started to do Google searches. What's the first thing that pops up? No licenses required. No, really, anything really required to get into this. I mean, the way it works is somebody can walk up to you, say, I want to sell a plane. And if you know how to do it, you can sell their plane.
Yeah.
It's so far that simple for a certain aircraft. Now, there's a lot of fine details, which led me to the Google searches. And jumped on and started moving around and putting pieces together. I found a few, but not many. There wasn't a whole lot on there about it, and did all I could on research-wise, and then, was choosing between, I believe, yours, and then there was another website that I don't remember the name of, and it just, frankly, it just wasn't as visually appealing to a learner, to somebody who's trying to be a student, better said. And so I did some research into yours and into Aircraft Broker Academy, and I was able to look into what I was going to be learning. And it's okay. So I have access to this course. I can take a few pieces of the course. I can see the instructor. I can see how he's teaching it. You know, is he
we're
on
in
a
person right now too.
Is he on a whiteboard? You know, we're in person right now.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a lot of pieces that I hadn't figured out yet to it, and you solved a lot of them. Okay, you solved 99% of them at the end of the day.
I'm glad to hear that, man.
Absolutely, man. I 100% would not be sitting here right now in this sense, being as successful with it as early on if it wasn't for the way you structured your course, if it wasn't for the way you made yourself available to your students in many different channels, whether it's the community or directly texting me or emailing me. I mean, from the beginning, you know, you've helped me with a few hiccups in the beginning. And so the course for me, I was, you know, and I don't want to keep dragging on, so stop me where you need to.
Yeah,
but,
for sure.
The course for me, man, I had clients because of where I'm at in the Nashville area who want to buy and sell. It's a lucrative market out there. And, you know, I thought, okay, this is what it's going to be. Back to what you're saying. How did you choose it? I mean, I really, quite literally, the pieces just fell in place for me. And I saw the ability to do this, selling and buying airplanes. And I said, I'm going full speed ahead. And in less than 24 hours, I had insurance, I had everything I needed and as we talked, I had a website getting I wasted no time. I mean, it's just how I want to work.
No, and it's crazy because Nick and I we had a call probably 2 days after, 2 or 3 days after you purchased the course.
It was definitely no more than 7 days.
Yeah, I can't remember exactly the time frame, but it was crazy because we were talking about this earlier. But when he got in the call, I mean, Nick had a whole list of questions. This is what I've done so far. And it kind of like took me off guard. I was like, whoa. Not in a negative way. It was in a positive way. I immediately knew that you were going to be successful at it. Just the way you approach that goal. This is what I've done. These are the questions that I have in order for me to move forward. And I knew 100%. right then and there, I knew that you were going to be successful at it. Okay. So talk to me a little bit more about, so essentially Nick works for this flight school. So he's already around airplanes, around people who fly airplanes, you know, so he was able to build a network of aviators and people who are interested in aviation. Tell me how that has helped you, like creating that network, get to where you are right now.
Sure. I'm in the business of creating business. Okay. At the end of the day. Sounds cliche, right? Well, I'm in the business of creating business. At the end of the day, there's enough people at the table for everybody to eat. And I want to keep my clients close to me and keep them in a revolving system. And for me, that started with over and above flight instruction, better flight instruction than just the average person. I'm a Gold SEAL flight instructor. I'm not a proud person, but I know my accomplishments, and I worked very hard. I'm a 19 out of 19, 100% pass rate, various aircraft instructor, and that allowed me to jump into the things that I did. And I kept people close to me. I text with the first person I ever taught to fly to the last person I taught to fly, which is Ryan Tannehill of the Titans, who I'm going to pick up and fly back to Nashville.
That is crazy.
In a couple, I mean, I'm very blessed. You know, we were on the front page of the newspaper together. You know, I mean, it's like, yeah, the Nashville newspaper.
Really?
He got featured. I mean, we had a whole article written about us. So that network for me, you know, it came from hustling and keeping myself to certain standards, and not, you know, and we all fail. We all have troubles and hardships, me especially. And I was able to just use those as motivation and redirect the energy. And and I may have strayed from your question, but you know, the networking for me, it's a constant, ongoing, living thing that I tend to every day, and it's only going to grow. And I think that's what's most exciting for me with all of this is, man, I've only just begun.
Yeah, and the interesting part is, before the Aircraft Broker Academy, before starting my aircraft brokerage, I mean, my passion is aviation. That's what I'm passionate about, and I try to do other businesses that they
Really?
didn't have
Yeah.
anything to do with aviation, and I was never successful at it.
Huh.
The cool thing is you are a flight instructor. Now you're selling airplanes. Those things go hand in hand.
Sure.
The networking that you do for aircraft sales also benefits your flying career.
110%.
The networking and the people and the connections and everything you do when it comes to flying or teaching also benefit your aircraft broker career. And that's why I think I'm getting like goosebumps
100%.
because if you're an aviation professional and you have that entrepreneurial spirit, this is the way to go, because it doesn't require like a large amount of capital to get started, like a flight school or Part 135 or any other aviation venture. You don't need that. You don't need an FAA license, and you can start your own business helping clients buy and sell airplanes.
100%. I think,
and it goes just hand in hand.
100%. There's no better way to say it. How I instruct or how I sell airplanes, it's a full circle thing.
Mhm.
People in the there's people who are buying from me because of the way I've handled other clients. I mean, yeah, it's goosebumps. The whole night. This was my first business, so I've not known failure on the side of starting something and it failing. Thank God, yet. And I hope to never do. But I also hope maybe I do, because I'm starting other businesses as we speak. That is my plan. Like I said, I'm gonna branch out into everything possible.
My biggest recommendation to you is whatever it is that you do, because I can sense your passion for aviation. Stay in aviation.
Okay.
Because that's how you're going to be successful. Now, I mean, if you have opportunities to maybe get into real estate
That's
any other,
where I'm after. Yeah,
I'm not saying to limit yourself, but I think you're going to be very successful in the aircraft sales world.
Yeah.
Because aircraft sales can lead you to many other things. Okay, so possibly aircraft sales can lead you to start a dealership. Aircrafts, like as a broker, right?
Sure.
As an aircraft broker, that can lead you to start a management company. A management company can lead you to turn it into a whole Part 135 operation.
100%.
So this is kind of like the beginning stages of what it's really possible out there. Now, obviously, you have competitors and stuff like that. There's going to be a lot more things you're going to have to learn in order to be successful in that sort of venture, but it's a good start.
There's always people trying to kick your ass.
Yeah, always.
No matter where you go.
Always.
That's
a good thing.
It is.
It's a good thing.
It keeps me up at night and gets me up early in the morning.
That's it.
Yeah, I mean, there's even while I've started, it's funny because I didn't think about that. I figured, I'm going to start and I'll just be myself and I'll do whatever I'm doing. And it's like you hear of this person hopping in and doing it. This person kind of following the same thing not that I'm doing. You didn't follow me. It's just, hey, they're in your space, man.
Mm-hmm.
What are you going to do to set yourself apart? How are you going to get your name out there in a way that positively, reflects and affects people? To come to you instead of them, so it's a learning process, but yeah, man, I mean, it's for little to nothing, you can get started as an aircraft broker. I think if anybody's out there and you're like, man, I don't have the ability, I'm not you guys, I didn't start in aviation, my dad didn't, this or that. It's like, I hear it, I get it, but you can get past that. You just, at the end of the day, you will get past it. You just got to start. Just start day one. I mean, it's
not only start, though, but stick to it.
And stick to it. If you start it and you stop it, well, then you will never know. I mean, if I were to have stopped after my first, I got this sale and then it took a couple months and I'm like, man, I guess I wouldn't have made sale number 2.
Yeah.
Now I've got multiple people. So, and I know you shared your story with me. I mean, you for a whole year, I think you said it took you a whole year. So it's like, if I put myself in your shoes, I probably would have cracked. No, I hope not. I like to think I wouldn't, but thinking about that,
no. And the crazy thing is that I can sit across you here, knowing that with the teachings, the things that you've learned, you've been able to do it in like way shorter time frame than I was able to do. But again, at the time when I started, I didn't have the resources that
Right.
we have nowadays.
Right.
That leads me to another question for you. Just talk to me about how you got these two clients. They were acquisition clients, so you were going to help them find SR22s. Is that correct?
Sure.
Both of them?
Yeah, both SR22s, both G2 to G3 generations.
Okay.
You know, the budgets were comparable. You know, they're in the mid-tier budget for a G2. Both of them were just previous people I have known, you know, and back to I like to try to create business. I knew about them through a flight instructor of mine, and he said they were struggling at a flight school near us, which is a very common thing, by the way. And people that come from my business that I run as the director of Harmony, they struggle with us. And each day I try to do better and figure out how to retain those customers. But flight instruction is a very unique animal, and one that it's one-on-one. So if one person has a great experience, the next person doesn't, you know, with the same person. It's a really top tier instructor. It's just, man, you were their fourth flight of the day. It's a difficult business to maintain. And so I heard of those people struggling. I reached out and I said, hey, why don't you try flying with this person at my school? They came over, they were flying, you know, and they were really, really succeeding. And it had always been in their mind to want to purchase an aircraft. And they, you know, they approached me about it because they knew what I was doing through just social media. And they said, hey, you know, we're just curious, what does this look like? And I said, you know, what are you doing right now? And they said, well, we're doing this number right now. I'm like, you guys are paying for an aircraft of your own right now through flying for the both of you. So that was the second client. The first client just met me in Nashville, and we got to talking, and he said, you know, I'm looking at buying a Cirrus. I said, well, hey, I know a guy. What are you looking for? And, you know, he flew back to Louisiana. I just coordinated from Louisiana to Nashville. You know, what the deal was. I used your course spitting image to just flow with the guy. I mean, I had it up and I was on the phone and I was typing.
Really?
Just 100%. Like, just have. I mean, I have to have a checklist.
Did you
pilot? You know what I mean?
Did you have the because in the course I have this flow chart.
Yes.
Is that where you?
I have everything saved. And that's what I recommend people doing. People that are watching this, you've taken a course, that's awesome. Maybe you started the course and you said, this isn't for me. I'm not succeeding with it. What I would recommend you do is start over, have a separate sheet. Don't lose the sheet, and take notes on everything you say. Hey, this is the 337. Hey, this is this. Because I mean, you may not. I have a knowledge of logbooks. I have a knowledge of not every single, most aircraft engines that are piston. I know about maintenance intervals. I know about parachute. You know, I know all of those things. So you need to do a little bit more documenting of the course. But if you follow that, I promise you, because I still have it. You know, it's in a bag close to me. All of the framework I need to do this sale. So I had your flow chart, but mostly I had the forms, kind of the agreements? The agreement forms, because that, for me, that was intimidating. I was like, oh man, I've got to get an agreement for, like, and the lawyer side of things. So I had those ready, and, you know, I tweaked them to fit my, you know, between me and my my legal advice and things like that. I had him tweaked, and you know, I started working on the sale, man. I started swinging.
I really like that, because those are templates. And I always tell everyone, you should still get a lawyer and make sure that it
100%.
conforms, you know, with what a lawyer tells you. Because at the end of the day, I'm not a lawyer, CPA, or anything like that, but I do provide you with a template. So how did, you know, I mean, this being like your first deal, how did you go about presenting the aircraft acquisitions agreement to the client? I mean, can you like walk me through the feelings?
100%.
Because I remember when I did my first client, I was like kind of like shy, you know.
Yep.
Please sign here.
Yeah. I mean, it's like when I take people flying for the first time. They're in an unknown environment. Their bodies aren't used to it. Their minds aren't used to it, and I have to calm them in such a way to ensure that it's okay. And, you know, I didn't have that. I had you on, you know, calling me and helping me, but, you know, for the most part, 100%, I was sitting there like, all right, have I drafted everything correctly? Have I gone through the videos? Have I made sure I've checked all my boxes? And for me, as we talked about, and this is something I don't recommend people do. Don't be like me. Follow the commission structure out of the gate. I probably could have got more commission structure off of an acquisition, but I just said,
Let's pause there for a second.
Yeah.
What was the commission percentage that you asked for both deals, and what was the kind of like budget?
Sure. So my commission for the first aircraft was a $350,000 aircraft, and I offered a 2.5% commission on that aircraft.
Now, with that 2%, was it some 2.5? Did you present a different number and you had to like negotiate it, or it was kind of like 2.5%? Here you go.
Yeah, I presented 3 in the beginning.
Okay.
And I didn't hear back from him. He didn't come back and sign my acquisition agreement. So I went and I sent him an email and I said, look, man, you've been really great. You've been helping me. And he had. Most clients will jump in and do a little bit of legwork. So you try to eliminate most of that for them, in my opinion, but some of them like doing it. So, I said 2.5%, and, he signed it. And, like you said, that was a big moment for me. I said, okay, we're in business. All right.
Man.
That was my first, of course I got the earnest fee too. He sent me the earnest fee, but, and I always charge, I charge $1,000 up front. But yeah, I did have to do a little bit of negotiation, but I made myself negotiate. He didn't even make me negotiate. So if I went back, I would have 3%. But for me, I want to build a portfolio of experience. And so that's why I went after it. My second sale was a $330,000 budget, really. $330. I did a 3% commission on that
as well
on that one. That first one sold, the first aircraft that was the 350 budget sold for $330. The second one sold for $295.
Okay.
Yeah. And then in between there, I've had other clients who have put acquisition agreements in to really raise me up to about about $20,000 in a span of 3 months.
That is
3 to 4 months, something like that.
That is crazy, Nick.
So it's been it's been a blessing for sure.
So, okay. So now we have 2 clients. They both signed an acquisition agreement at 2.5%. And the other one was 3%, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Walk me through what your next steps were. How did you handle the process of finding these aircraft for your clients?
Sure. So first guy, we were on the off-market scene. We were on the groups, the Facebook groups, right? So for me, I went full speed ahead on just cold calling sales, not really cold calling, but contacting people, building a list of airplane before. And you can read it on my website. He said before I got home, he had 3 aircraft ready for me. None of them fit the bill. We went and we found another aircraft off market, and it ended up being the one. So what I do is you put me to work, and I did this today before we came in here. I'm working on stuff all the time. So it's like, hey, I'm building you every possible plane that I know of in where you want it in the country, most of my people in the country, and I'm building everything on that airplane down to the specs. So I built those. I went and we started narrowing down the ones that we wanted. I called and I just got a feel for the buyer, and this is something we're talking about now, is how do you approach that? The way I approach it is full steam ahead. Hey man, I've got a really motivated, already financed buyer, insurance set up, everything. We're ready to move on your aircraft if it's the right one. I see these are the specs on it. Can you tell me a little bit more about the airplane? Contact the seller, start a relationship with that. The first one was a private sale. So I was dealing with the owner of the plane, which was very good for me because I was able to I had to draft the purchase agreement. I didn't have somebody else draft it. Right. So I did all of the
right, because you're dealing directly with them. They don't have a broker representing them.
Yeah, and he was so hands off. I mean, the guy. I hope I'm not bad mouthing. He didn't. I don't think he knew everything that went into it. Yeah, or like even some of the things about ownership. It's how it works when you own an airplane. It's how it works when you own a car. Mm-hmm. Some people don't put oil in their car. You know what I mean? It's the same thing.
Same thing.
So it worked really well for me because I was able to negotiate comfortably, and I was able to feel out the sale and get a first right of refusal and get him to negotiate that he's going to pay for the annual if he backs out. So I was able to watch my customers' pocket a little bit easier than I feel. So overall, said and done, after that, I jumped up and I called a maintenance shop. One was on field where he always, maintain the airplane. I said, that's fine. And I'm not hesitant to do that. It just depends on the relationship and kind of what the shop looks like at the end of the day. Cause I do have a lot of experience with all the shops, at my home. So I know how it goes. So I got him to fly the airplane down south, and in 3 weeks time, we had an airplane closed. Negotiated, signed, and ferried home.
And let me ask you this: did you use an escrow?
I did use an escrow. Always.
Okay, good. Which one did you use?
AIC title.
AIC title. Very cool.
I probably won't use anybody else.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It's me learning.
Yeah, no. Aerospace Reports is also pretty cool.
Yeah,
I like it.
Yeah,
but it's always between AIC or Aerospace Reports for me.
I think I might have used. I have to go back and look, but I think I might have used Aerospace Reports on the first and AIC title on the second.
Man, so. And the cool thing is with AIC title, you probably send them your acquisition agreement and your wire instructions as a broker.
Followed everything you said to do down to the T.
So then what happened? You probably, once the buyer and the seller called to close, you probably saw the money come into your bank account.
So what I'll advise the people is, and I know nothing about running business. So, I'm learning. But what I'll tell you is make sure you choose a good business bank account. Okay, thanks, man, for that. I choose a good business bank account. I had one that was like, "Whose money is this?" And I'm like, "Mine." And they're like, "Whose money? I'm mine." Will you put it in the? So it literally hit in about 8 hours.
Oh, really?
It hit about 8 hours. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Now it's because I think it was my first major.
It could be
deposit. I don't know. I don't bank with them anymore. But it's just a learning experience for me. I share with other people. So it's like, 8 hours, and I had $8,800 off of a first sale, and I was like, that is the first time.
Such a good feeling, man.
Yeah, it's like, whoa, hold on, I did that, and we did that. We did that. So
absolutely,
100%. So
wow.
And then from there, I great feeling. I mean, it's. Money is money. At the end of the day, you need it to survive, and it's nice to have, but it's just money. I think it's more of the accomplishment of getting it done than it is, the $9,000.
I am 100%. Like, I agree with you.
Yeah.
It's not about the money. It's about the game.
Absolutely. And it's a fun game,
It's the thrill of like that chase, man.
Yeah.
I don't care about the money. Well, I can't say I do
to
care
to
a certain extent, but just the thrill that you get from chasing it, not necessarily chasing it, but earning it.
And the client trusting you.
And the client's trusting you, the relationships.
And getting what he wanted, getting it home for him, and training him in his own airplane. I mean, I was able to go down and train him in his own airplane. Super great guy. I hope he sees this. I'm going to send it to him, and I hope you're enjoying that 22, man. It's beautiful. I mean, dude, when I saw the plane, most times older aircraft, they're like, oh, it's a ding here. I mean, literally beautiful. Like, it looks like it just rolled off the line. So
wow! So not only you helped him buy it, but now you're also instructing on it.
I instructed him. I did it. I took him through his embark training. Like I said, full circle. I'm in the business of creating business for Cirrus, business for myself, business for flight instruction. Me at Harmony Air, we do Cirrus instruction. So I said, hey, we have this new client. I created a client for us across the world, or across the country, basically. Here's this client. Let's get him done and get his embark training done. And he's flying it around Louisiana, man. So check in with him every so often. He's got dreams of moving into bigger airplanes soon too, and he will.
And I'm sure he's going to use you.
I certainly hope so.
And that's how it works.
And I've learned a lot, from that. So he's going to have a whole different experience, And he was an awesome client to have. I could not have a better first client who was a pilot and understands some of the things, but still wanted some help, figuring out the nitty gritty of the things. So. Man, that first sale was awesome. And then from there, like you said in the video, man, where am I going to get my clients from? How am I going to get my next client? In 2 weeks, I had another client.
Yeah. But that's mainly because you are in that environment. You're
in the environment. Yes.
Absolutely. And that's the cool thing when you pursue aircraft sales, if you already have a career in aviation as a flight instructor. When I started, I was an aircraft mechanic.
Yeah.
So it was a little bit different. And then I also got my CFI, and it seemed like once I got my CFI, things became like I got clients all the freaking time because they want to fly. Sometimes they start asking you questions. Hey, what if I purchase an aircraft? And then you're like, well, I can help you. I do that. And
really?
Yeah.
What does that look like?
Yeah.
Can you show us what the yeah? I mean, that's how it worked for me. That's how it worked for me, man.
So right now, so you did 2 sales and you have 3 clients that you have signed an acquisition agreement with. Is that correct?
I've got to send out one today.
Okay. So you have 2 waiting on 1.
I have 4.
4.
Three of which who are not under contract. What they're doing is, and this is how I operate. When you come to me, I don't say, here, you need this to talk to me. And not that anybody does or should, but I will put legwork in for you in the beginning and teach you what you need to know about even getting under contract with me. What does that look like? What do you do for me? Why do I need you? Why don't I use that? So it's like I build their trust in the beginning, and I deliver on that. And so I've got 3 people right now, a G5 Cirrus, which will sign an acquisition agreement today. I mean, these people are all buying, so yes, you could say 4. A G5 Cirrus today. I'll send out that today. I've got a G2, another $330,000 budget, and I've got probably a G2. He's still in between on it. He's wanting to buy a hangar before he gets to plane. And I'm like, I'll get you a hangar. And that's what I do. I'm a package. R3 Aviation Services is a package. It's not, I'm going to sell you an airplane. I'm going to do that, but I'm going to make sure you figure out how to get it home. I'm going to get you the pilots. I'm going to make sure you're safe. I'm going to make sure you use Prist instead of window cleaner,
Right.
The things that you don't know how to do, I'm not going to manage your aircraft, but
that's why they're paying you, because now you're bringing that value to the table.
100%. It's not just a one and done deal. And I tell them, I'm like, call me. I texted my client yesterday. I said, call me if you have an issue with your plane. I can introduce you to the maintenance shops.
It's interesting you say that, because a lot of piston aircraft owners, I don't know if you got in this, but sometimes they're like, I don't need a broker. I can just post it and trade a plane and sell the airplane. But they don't realize the patience that you need to deal with, like, potentially tire kickers, doing the whole valuation process, making sure that we're asking for the right amount, doing all the research and see what other aircraft are out there. They don't realize. And the cool thing is that not only you're doing that, but now you're also helping them, find a home, maintenance, the serious training that you're required. I mean, come on.
So to follow up on that, go up on a forum, read Do I Need a Broker? And read through everybody's comments on, man, you don't need those guys. All they do is going to take your money. All they want to, terrible, bro. And then you read some people like, I would probably never do this again without a broker. Why? I don't know. Maybe because I run a full-time business and I have a wife and kids, and I don't feel like dealing with phone calls all the time, and I don't know how to approach the sale completely. If you are a experienced pilot in the aircraft you are buying, do you need a broker? Yes and no. No, you don't, because you know the airplane and you could go out and you could handle it. Yes, when you have to deal with all of the paperwork and all the escrow and all of the things that, I've spent multiple, 10 hours on the phone for a client off of in a week. I mean, do what you wish, but if I were buying a plane, I'm a broker, so I'd use myself, but I would have used somebody. I'm buying a house. I'm going to use a realtor.
Absolutely.
You're buying an airplane. It's okay. However you look at it, it's probably the same amount of money, if not more. And it's risk at the end of the day. I am a risk manager for you.
Absolutely. And also the crazy thing is, it looks like you're creating this trend. Your first 2 deals were an SR22.
Correct.
You have 4 clients that they're all looking for a Cirrus.
Right around in the Cirrus.
The Cirrus, okay. And so he's creating a niche for himself. So is this something that, how did you come up to the niche of Cirrus? I know it's probably because that's where you've been flying.
Yeah.
But is it maybe something that you saw in the course where I say, you should find a niche, or are you open to also like venture out and do other aircraft? Just kind of walk me through what your thought process is in that.
I've got a 152 client. In general, I probably have over 5 people who are going to use me in this year. So like two guys was a 152. One gentleman went and purchased one on his own, and that's great. He messaged me yesterday. I followed up with him, and then one is going to purchase one through me. I've got another gentleman who's into kind of $100,000 budget on kind of maybe like a Cherokee 140, something along those lines. So I'm in those other aspects. For me, the Cirrus, a lot of people bash on them. I passed a wreck yesterday where a family of 5 all died. They flew from Canada, 60-hour pilot, 80-hour pilot, 100-hour pilot, flew from Canada, and passed over my airport about 2 miles from where I live. Overflew the air. Speculation. I don't mean to talk about something so fresh because I'm a pilot myself. This could have been me.
Yeah.
Passed over my airport. We think he speculated he missed, overshot, tried to go around. Maybe his mixture. Maybe he really did have a catastrophic engine failure, but something went wrong and he crashed right next to a highway about 2 to 3 miles from the airport and flipped up an embankment, and the entire airplane was engulfed in flames. Very tragic story. I passed by it on my way to work the next day, and it was one of those moments where it's like, dude, you do this. You do this every day, and so do 20 people that are attached with you and hundreds of people who walk through your door. And it relies on you to keep it's on my shoulders and my wonderful office staff who helps me does an amazing job for me, and I could not be there without them, to keep this place running and to not have that be one of my people. And so I talk about Cirrus in a way that, cool, bash me, say I'm not a pilot, let's go fly together, we'll see about that. That plane, for a single engine piston aircraft, most people won't walk away from that situation. If they were in a Cirrus, you would have pulled a parachute and you would be having breakfast with your wife and kids right now. So that is where my clients are, and that is where Cirrus is. And I'm a CSIP for Cirrus. And so I'm, one of their one of their designated, hey, like you carry our brand, I'm wearing it right now, you carry our brand for us, man. And it's like, I myself would probably be dead if I was not in a Cirrus. I've had many situations, I've had about 4 situations in my short time where if I was not in the structural integrity of a Cirrus, I probably would not be sitting here right now. And I can say that wholeheartedly. I was in that airplane with a Cirrus owner. Wow. In a 22 turbo. So for me, man, it's experience. It's the experience of it. And I fly everything from a 152 up. So it's like, I know what comes with the territory, and I'm not the most experienced pilot on earth, but I like to think I'm going to walk away from hopefully every situation I get faced with from a 152. But hey, I'm in a Cirrus, I can pull the parachute.
Yeah, no. And it's crazy because last night when I went to pick him up from the airport, we also drove by the crash site of that Challenger here in Naples. And it's a reminder, man, it's a serious business.
I did not,
like what we do.
I did not expect that. I didn't, I knew I was heading to the airport, but I didn't expect to drive right by it,
Yeah.
And so I remember when that happened, my boss texted me and he said, hey, we had a plane go down, and he's flying, and I'm like, whoa. And I get online and I'm like, because I got 15 airplanes flying right now. And I'm like, who went down? So, and I saw that happen. Very unfortunate situation. You know what I mean? I took my next meeting. I sat with all of our 20 instructors, really 25 people in the room, and I said, guys, look, like, those are 4, 5, 6 times experienced pilots in a 4, 5, 6 time redundant airplane than what you're flying every day. Please use this as a reminder. Please be careful. Please avoid flying single engine nighttime when you don't have to. I mean,
absolutely.
That's cool. I don't care what anybody has to say. I always approach my risk with a way to get out of it. And if I don't, I'm wondering why I'm there.
Wow. Nick, we're going to switch gears a little bit here. I do want to ask you, what were the biggest lessons that you learned from these 2 clients?
That you can do it. This is only the beginning, man. You got it. It's only upwards and forwards. It worked a whole bunch. Like, I keep going. I mean, it's success from it.
So is there anything like in the process?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, 100%. Kind of, I think mostly for me, it was the nerves of interacting with the sellers, because the next one I bought was from a bigger dealership, Lone Mountain. So I purchased an aircraft through them, and it was, I purchased it from the owner of the place, So it was I was a great experience. I was like,
can I ask you something about that transaction? And in that transaction, were you maybe like a little more hands off? Did they handle more of like the purchase agreement and stuff like that, or how did that look like?
Yeah, the purchase agreement was handled quite a bit by him. I was still on the phone with him pretty much every night, just saying, hey, do you want this fixed? What's the plan? The negotiations were obviously heavily up to me and my client. Some of the maintenance coordination did bleed over onto the client a little bit because, hey, do you want these steps fixed? But most of it, the escrow opened by them, the purchase agreement, in that situation, I had already, Cirrus, I had already taken that client, the second client, down to Mobile, Alabama, and hopped in a Cirrus with the owner of the Cirrus and put him in the back seat of his airplane and flew my client. And at 700 feet off of takeoff, the engine started to shudder.
Oh, man.
No joke. All 4 people in the airplane noticed it, and it goes, and I'm like, all right. Notice a few things, holes in my pre-flight, not something I did wrong, but hey, what's your field elevation? Oh, that's easy. What's your field elevation? What's your parachute? This is a G2. It doesn't have the GAGL counter, magenta blue, magenta baby. Hey, this is how high you are. I knew where I was at, but I noticed, I let myself slip a little bit. I was at the altitude I needed, but the engine did that. And I was like, man, I am getting ready to have to pull a chute on this guy's airplane. Got lucky. She continued. I flew back up 4,500 feet, stayed real close to the airport, still demoed the airplane, circled above the airport, kept it really high on final, came in, landed on rollout, not even taxiway rollout, the engine shut off. You ask my clients about it. Go ahead. And I turned around and I said, that's not supposed to do that. It's like, owner. The owner of the aircraft was in the back of his airplane, so we, needless to say, they didn't end up purchasing that aircraft.
Right.
That was a rabbit trail for me, man. But, at the end of the day, it's, I learned I won't put myself in that situation again. As far as demoing aircraft, demoing another person's aircraft, there's a lot of liability with this stuff. I know it from being a flight instructor. So if you do follow a path of being a pilot and doing this, you should know it, of course. But, I don't trust anybody's insurance. I don't care about an open pilot clause. I don't care about any of that stuff. I could have 10,000 hours in the plane. I'm going on somebody's insurance.
Absolutely. Always.
Or you're going to be at even there, I was still not even completely covered. If I would have gotten railroaded if I had to pull parachute on that airplane. Even with the owner in the plane, from my insurance carrier, that is a terrible idea. Now we're getting off into stuff that doesn't matter,
sure.
But whatever. It's, I learned a lot of stuff from that lesson. And I also learned that, I need to be charging for my time. My time is very valuable.
100%.
Some of these things I'm doing are free of charge because of commission. And I've learned that that's not the way I'm going to do things moving forward.
And Nick, you're starting out, so it's okay in the beginning, but you're 100%. You should always charge for your time is valuable. 100%. And you'll learn that eventually.
Oh yeah. No, I'm learning it for sure. And it's just kind of one of those things where it's the newness of it and me wanting to succeed with it. I'm willing to hustle and I'm willing to take that bottom dollar to just get my foot in the door with these people. And now I don't have to do that anymore, because I've got some experience. But yeah, I learned quite a bit. And when I got with that seller, I learned that I had flown to a state that was not a flyaway state. All right. So I flew to Ohio and I was not in a flyaway state. So we had to, do something to make that happen where we sold the airplane somewhere else. Or no, we sold it there. Yeah. Non-incriminating.
Right.
But no, there's a bill to, it's just little things like that. Knowing the tax situation for the plane in California, I'm not, like you said, I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a professional in any way, shape or form, but I'm going to tell you when I'm outside of my jurisdiction, and I'm not going to tell you how to do taxes.
Nope.
Listen, man, I'm going to tell you why this airplane is the best airplane and why this one's not a good airplane.
Yeah, that's the right approach. So. Man. Now, Nick, let me ask you, what would you say the key lessons are that you took from the course that you've been able to apply to these transactions? Like the most, I guess, impactful or important lessons.
Man, it's going to be hard to nail them down because I took a lot away from it. It's going to be hard to really say this is the one because for me, I feel as a whole from the beginning, okay, I didn't have to watch what the engine model codes are. I didn't have to watch what a Form 337 is or what.
You're talking about the aircraft knowledge
the knowledge
module
part.
Yeah, right.
I didn't have to because I know it. So, I was able to maneuver around that. I sell every day, so I didn't have to really watch how to be a cold call sales kind of agent, which I still watched. I still watched all of it. But at the end of the day, man, the biggest lessons for me were the process.
Okay.
The process, because you get into it and you're like, okay, what's next? You know, and I remember asking you, I said, what's next? And you sent me your flow chart. The flow of the acquisition process and the sales process for me was why I invested in the course, and what taught me the most of taking pictures, getting the description of the airplane, which I'm doing right now, step by step. That for me, and you know, I don't know if that's really pinpoint enough of, you know, what for,
Yeah,
for
no,
me
that's
personally,
your
you know,
opinion. Yeah.
more me personally, is that pinpoint enough for me to be satisfied with that answer? Is no, man, because it's like, even I had a question the other day and I pulled up the course, and I think it was something in the acquisition process in the beginning that I just pulled back up. So I have access to the videos again to just go back and bounce off what I'm doing to make sure I'm doing it correctly. So, not to mention the emails and the calls, and you know, the going above and beyond, you know, for all of your students. I know you do it. I know that keeps you busy for sure.
Yeah, no,
So-
but the thing is, I get pleasure from it. To me, it is not work at all. Especially when I see that the student is like actually hustling, dude. I'm a phone call away.
Right.
Like,
Absolutely.
if I can relate with it. So it's really not. And
Right.
then apart from that, it's also the networking.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because who knows? Aviation is a small world. We're
Right.
gonna cross path at some point.
As we talked in the car.
Yeah. It
I
can
mean,
be flying. It can be with sales. Who knows what it's gonna be?
100%.
But Nick, I think we're gonna wrap it up here.
Sounds good, man.
I have no idea how long it's been, but
52 minutes, 53 seconds.
nice.
Yeah, man. It's been a pleasure. I appreciate you having
Nick,
me.
I am so proud of you, man.
Absolutely, man. It's been a
All
pleasure.
right, same. All right, guys. Well, this was it for today, and stay tuned because I am going to be bringing more students to the podcast so they can discuss their experiences.
Good luck.
We'll see you in the next one. Take care. Dude, good job, man.